Welcome everybody to this episode of the Callsheet. I'm your host, filmmaker AJ Wedding, flipping through my old call sheets and some of my future call sheets, looking for interesting guests in the film and television industry. Today, we're talking to an amazing filmmaker, writer, producer, director, Lisa Arnold. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, AJ. So great to be with you.
You know, I feel like I've known of you for many years because you worked with my good friend and DP, Leo Jaramillo, for a long time. And we've maybe spoken a few times up until very recently where we've started to become more involved in a work capacity. And I'm so excited about it. I just think you're awesome. So thank you for being here.
The feeling is mutual, and I'm so excited to have you be a part of Kid Combat because I just know you're going to bring so many talents to that project. So it's going to be exciting to do.
Well, that's I'm excited we can touch a little bit on it because it's so new and upcoming. You know, obviously with COVID and everything, there's still no rolling dates for anybody right now.
Right.
But
we're on hold like everything else, but it's going to be an exciting project. You know, number one, I mean, it's an action film, so it's going to be thrilling to do that. It has so much VFX, which is what you're, going to focus on and be such a great help with. And I love a kid film, and this is a kid action comedy, and it's going to be a series, so, many to come. So it's going to be exciting to be a part of.
It's really exciting, and it's such a great script. I'm so excited to be a part of it, and thank you for that, by the way. But I really wanted to kind of go back and hear your story. You know, how you got involved in the film industry. You know, what were you interested in as a kid? What was your life like?
I know. Well, yeah. Someone asked me recently, did you think you were going to be a director as a kid? And apparently I did, because when I was 8 years old and 6 years old, what I was doing is creating shows and putting them on in my garage and charging my friends 25 cents to come in and see the show. So apparently I was all about it even back then. But I came to film in a very roundabout way because I was in love with stage. And for 15 years, I focused on stage. And then I was part of television and did a live television show. And after that, I missed acting and went back to acting and found film industry. And this was probably around 98, 99. And so I thought it would just kill me because it's so slow and tedious, and everything I had done to that point was live and full of energy. And but the opposite, I ended up completely falling in love with every aspect of it and couldn't get enough. And I used the talents that I had as far as directing and producing in the live things and switched it to, the film work, and would do anything for anybody. Like if they needed a boom op for a day, I was there. If, we were on projects where we were just trying to make it happen. One of the first projects I did was with the Kendrick brothers, which was Flywheel. And we made that film for $20,000, and that was used to buy the camera. It was only like a crew of 6, so it was all volunteer, and it depended on the day what you were doing. You might be on screen one day, the next day your wardrobe, the next day your makeup, the next day your set deck. So it was one of those great experiences that we all have, and we treasure those so much. And it just grew from there. And I was spent the first 10, 15 years being on camera and off camera, but kept falling in love more with behind the scenes and the process of it. And so I started writing in the late 90s too, and then started directing in 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. And so since then, it's just been a continual journey and continual growth. And oh my gosh, I love everything about the thought of, envisioning something and then putting it on the page and then being able to visually create it for people. I mean, it's an incredible journey, absolutely incredible.
Oh, totally. And yeah, you got to love those experiences that you get to play multiple roles. It makes you a better director, a better producer, just being in those places and understanding what it takes to do those jobs.
Sure. I mean, it's like Walt Disney said, if you walk in other people's shoes, you understand. So because I serve as a producer so many times, I understand when the director asks for 100 extras, you can't have 12 show up. He needs 100 extras, and vice versa. When the director, since I've done the producing side too, I want every dollar to amount to something. So as the director, I'm very careful where I spend my dollars and make sure that it is a big impact on screen.
Absolutely. So take me back to, you said it was 2007, the first movie that you directed, and just kind of give me, was it 2007? Okay. And just kind of give me a sense of like, how did that film come together? Like, did you write it as well, or?
I did. I wrote it, and I don't know why I have a theme for when I write and create projects. It's kind of the voice of the voiceless kind of thing. So this particular was a female who kind of lost her voice, and it was an amazing journey. A church actually partnered with me on it, and we got a lot of, favor given to us, like Sunday school classes and things like that were our craft services and our catering. And so, we had a crew of about 15 on that project, and, we paid our DP, we paid a couple people, but there were also a lot of volunteers on that project. And, every day was just, a smile on my face. Like there was absolutely nothing like it. And I definitely enjoy directing the most. It is my sweet spot, but I do really appreciate and love being a part of the producing team too, because it's great to be able to be a part of that team to equip the director to bring their vision along. So, but I think directing, I get a little bit more joy. I like watching those films over and over again. The films that I produce, I tend to see the problem days, like, oh, that was the day the high winds came and we had the lights went down, and I see the problems, in other words, when I'm going back and watching it. So it's a little bit harder for me to enjoy those.
Of course,
but I bet I absolutely love it. I really started writing just because I wasn't liking the scripts I was given as an actress. I just didn't see very many redeeming quality in these projects. I didn't think, 20 years from now, I will be proud to be a part of this project. And I wanted to find my own voice. And so that has allowed me to do that. And it's really wonderful, not only just to create my own projects, but I write a lot of scripts for people. So I just finished a based on true story script that's amazing. It's called A Love Without Borders, and it's a story that took place in Burma, starts in the 60s and goes to present day. But oh my gosh, it's got everything. It's like from the greatest riches, like Crazy Rich Asians. So it's got like the craziest, riches, and then they go to live in a jungle in a shack and no running water and no bathroom, and just like the worst circumstances. So riches to rags to redemption. So it's a beautiful story to tell. But wow. I love being a part of the whole process.
I would love to read that. And I think that when you're producing, you're probably a director's best friend, because you know what you always want as a director. I can imagine that's a good experience for the directors involved with you as well.
I hope so. I think so. I think they all feel like I really go to bat to equip them, and have their back with whatever vision they want to bring to it. And the same with writing. I think it's easy for me to see the visual side of it. So I can either do a rewrite on a script that's been from a novelist, or start from scratch from somebody's story, from a memoir, and then bring the visual story to life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Right? Don't you write, direct, and produce as well, don't you?
I do. And like you, just depends on the project. And, I think when you love it, when you love filmmaking, it doesn't really matter what hat you're wearing,
Yeah, exactly. It's a magical world to be a part of. I love it.
Yeah. And I do think that the more you can, like we mentioned before, the more you can wear other hats, the better you're going to be at the position you love the most, because you are giving, people what you would want in that position, and you're learning what they are capable of and not capable of, which is also a very good thing.
So true. I think one of the greatest things about directing is that you can go in with the concept of I'm the lowest person here, and it is my job here to equip everybody and to make the best that everybody has to give. And that's really exciting to see. You know, it's exciting to see people just rise up to things way beyond what they thought they could do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your early work. So,
started in faith-based films. So did Flywheel and did a little bit on Facing the Giants, and then Letting Go. And then This Is Our Time was a project that came about through several meetings from another film. And I wanted to film that one in Louisiana or Georgia, but PureFlix really wanted to film it in California just because they were set up and had their crew and everything. And this was kind of before I had a very established crew. So I said yes to that and filmed in LA, and it was fine. I mean, it was a wonderful experience. We also filmed in India on that project too. It was really interesting because the storyline had two characters that became missionaries, and they were serving in India in leprosy colonies. So we ended up filming in some of the leprosy villages, which was amazing. And leprosy victims were our extras on set. So it was an extraordinary experience. I mean, just life-changing experience. But it was through that one that I was able to talk them into coming back to Louisiana, bringing some projects in. And so we did Christmas Angel with Della Reese and Terry Polo. And then right after that was God's Not Dead, which most people in the faith-based world know about. That was a big hit, probably around 2015. And then since then, world has just been kind of evolving and expanding. So now I have a lot of female-driven projects, a lot of kid projects, because I've landed in that family genre, and I love it so much. And I really adore working with kids. Not as much with animals, but adore working with kids. And I think they come so prepared, sometimes so much better prepared than the adult actors. And so it's really extraordinary. And I love their energy. And so it's a lot of fun. And so my lane is pretty, is broadened. I'm no longer just in faith-based. I'm in, mainstream and doing a lot of based on true stories, dramas, action, comedy. So I'm just kind of across the board. And then this past year, I really focused on trying to create some television series. So that's my next step, my next love, I think. So I'm working on a couple of different television series projects.
Well, it doesn't
love developing. I know you do too, but I love developing product. I just love developing product.
I do too. I prefer to complete it, but that's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like nothing slows you down. Have you ever had any real big hurdles that you had to get over during this process of becoming who you are today, which is an amazing filmmaker and showrunner? It sounds like coming soon.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I tend to be a little bit naive on the hurdles, and I just kind of keep going forward. So I don't really get bogged down into, I just know there's a time for everything, and I, am okay with that. And a lot of times when I'm speaking at film festivals, they'll be like, what's the secret? How did you find the money? What did you do? And what I always tell them at the film festivals is, most likely God has already put in your life the people that you need to make the projects that he has put on your heart. And so it's just a matter of, finding that one person that really believes in you, and they can bring other people to the table, and then you can really, grow from there. But when you go to the same people asking, there'll be a line of 20 or so people thinking I can fund their projects and I can do these things for them, which I can't, but they probably have that person. They're just not recognizing it. So I try and redirect them to that. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Man, what an amazing time for you as a filmmaker. And I just I feel like a lot of people focus on the obstacles that they run into, and I think it makes the obstacles, it gives them more power. I think,
Yeah.
like you say, not even sort of considering them and just moving forward as best you can when you can.
Sure. Somebody tells me no, that just immediately means it's going to be a yes for me. Somehow, some way, it's going to be a yes. So I take adversity well. But I will say that I think you've just got to be balancing many projects in this field, you know? So you've always got to be developing while you're producing, while you're, you know, in post. I mean, it is a continual journey, just like a film is a continual journey. I mean, I laugh when people think, oh, I've got the funding, I'm halfway done, now I just got to make the film. And by the time you get to the end of post production, you're still not even halfway there, because then you have to market and put the movie out there and make it successful. So everyone turns out like a baby, and it just, you got to, raise it and then release it. And every part of it is crucial. Every part of the process is so crucial. So yeah, I spent a lot of time over the last 2 years just really meeting with distributors and trying to figure that side of it out, because I was very focused on the creative world. But as you know, a film is not successful unless it's successful all the way through. So I encourage everybody, you just need to understand the entire process and really dive into it and consume yourself with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think too many people think that all they need is to get the money together to make the film, and then everybody's going to love it. They don't consider the things that you should be considering before you make the film, which is, is it sellable as it is? What is the genre? Who are these people that are in it? How do these things affect your sales? Because
Right.
you're going to need some kind of security blanket, something to market. Because, I could make the greatest sci-fi film that no one's ever seen, and if no one's in it and no one cares and no one sees it, well, what's the point?
It was a lot of wasted time. Huh? Yeah, that's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. Although I do think there are some films that, are not made for the masses, but there was a
Sure.
reason that you made it, So
Absolutely.
I did a human trafficking movie, and I know that movie has saved lives. Like, I've literally heard the stories. I know that it has. It was not, it didn't have a big release. It didn't, but it's still playing today, and I'm still getting letters every day on it. So it's still impacting lives. So you never know.
It's true. I mean, like you said,
It's always a learning process, regardless, So you're always growing with it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. All of the, things that go into it. Somebody said it to me once before, and it was, that the film industry is the most interesting confluence of science, business, and art. And if one of those pillars fails, the whole thing fails.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost has to be the perfect storm for success. But how many people you think are wishing they'd put their money into films instead of the stock market right now?
Well, yeah, and it seems like there's going to be a pretty big vacuum.
We will be releasing. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's a good time to invest in films.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We got to fill this
Well,
vacuum.
it is. Yeah, it's really smart. And then, with so many opportunities on federal taxes that we can take advantage of, the 168 and the 181. I mean, those really make a difference. So especially if you keep it here in the U.S., there's some nice incentives along with the state incentives that just make it, the risk minimal, which is wonderful.
So just for my own personal knowledge, is the 181 is still a thing? For some reason, I thought it got taken away.
From what I understand, only until the end of this year. So you have to begin filming. You have to at least have something filmed by the end of this year for it to be grandfathered beyond that.
Got it. And for the audience, if you want to just tell them a little bit about what the 181 exchange is.
Yeah, Section 168 and 181, these are federal tax incentives that can help wipe out, your federal taxes. So if you're a person that pays a lot of money on the federal side of things, this can be very beneficial to you. And I recommend that you get with your attorneys and accountants and figure out a way to,
And
bankroll some of that money
and
to
then
a
call us.
film project. Yeah, yeah. And most of my films do have a cause related to them, or do have kind of a purpose beyond just the film. And so I feel like that's another way and another reason why investors will seek you out, because they are very interested in making a difference in this world and inspiring people and encouraging people. And I really don't want to make a film that doesn't do those things, that doesn't show love, that doesn't bring us to our best, that doesn't enlighten us and inspire us, and all those things.
Yeah, I agree. And anybody who's going to invest in a film, they want to be able to talk about it and talk about all the positives about it. And of course,
And
if
be
there's a good
proud
message.
of it and have their whole family be able to watch it.
Exactly.
Ta-da! It doesn't happen very often now. It really doesn't.
That's the secret right there.
Yes. Yes, exactly, AJ. Exactly. So, but we're going to have a lot of fun with Kid Combat. I can't wait to get rolling on that one. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because it is the genre of film that I really like. It's what I tend to write more than anything. And when I first read it, I just said, oh, God, I got to somehow get involved in this.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a trilogy, and they're looking at it as a franchise. So that's just going to be
super smart, too. Just
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to get to live with these characters for a good while, which is going to be a fun thing, which is one of the things that I think draws me to television, because a cast and crew become family to me, and I would just like to continue working with them for a little bit longer. And I'd love to, as a writer, just be creating, that storyline after storyline for these same characters.
Oh yeah, just being able to twist and turn a character arc. I mean, how many movies have the average American seen where they get used to that sort of 3-act structure of a story for a character? And that's why I think television has become so prevalent in people's lives now, because now the structure is ongoing, and they can really twist those characters up. And I love that too. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what you come up with for television pitches and what happens with it, because I don't see anything stopping you. That's for sure.
Well, it's been a different world, so it's making all new contacts for that. But so far I love the projects I've been, helping to develop, and they're just a lot of fun. And I know that they could go really far. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a great audience for them for sure.
So how do you, when you're directing, and I ask that first because of course that's the one I want to learn the most about for myself. How do you approach a project that you didn't write? How do you start that process?
Usually the first thing I have to do is really look at the script and think, do a tweak on it. Like, how do I want to tell the story visually? Because not always on the page is it a visual experience. And so it's from taking it from the page to characters that we actually love and experiences that we love, but we may be hearing it and not visually seeing it. So that's the first thing I'm going to address. And then what really helps me is finding those key locations that just bring my story to life, that, and finding that key cast that just captures the essence of every actor. It's so funny because some of the, I don't know, some of the actors have no idea that I love them. And I feel like I just, have no poker face whatsoever. But I remember I cast Rob Belushi in a recent film, and he came in and he just completely nailed the part. Like, I always ask for a redirect just to see, what they can do. I didn't even know anything to tell him because he was so far beyond what I had envisioned for this character of Harvey that I was like about to wet myself, and then I just kind of thank you. And he left and he's like, that didn't go well. And we laugh about it to this day because he's first person I will call almost for every project. You know, this isn't the best part for you, but I'd love to have you in it. Or this is all about you and please take this part, you know, because he's so talented and gifted. And I just feel like casting is one of the strongest things that I do well. Like I can find them in the room and I don't lose patience, you know. I'll just keep asking to see more and more and more people until I finally find the magic. But boy, does it bring a story together. And it really just, I mean, I'm definitely an actor's director. So if I can find the right cast, and I have had one person that was an awful fit in an early film, just because I lost, it was a SAG project and then it turned into a non-union project. And it was really close to shooting time and I couldn't find anybody else and I settled off, and it can be torturous if it's not the right person. It really can. So you want to just like exhaust yourself finding the perfect person for the part. But, you know, I love collaborating with my team. So you mentioned Leo, and I mean, I love collaborating with Leo. And it just depends because I do have a couple of DPs that I work with, but for the most part, over the last few years, it's just been Leo. So now we have the shorthand, and I know that he likes to backlight everything, and I always know he's seeing my hero in backlight. So I'm creating, you know, the blocking to work with that so that we get the best on the screen.
Sure.
Yeah, but I think one of the director's biggest responsibilities and advantages is if you will look at everybody's gifts and talents and where they excel and use that to your benefit for the beauty of the film.
For sure.
So don't just go on and say it's got to be this way. You know, let's work with what he can bring to it and make it the best it can be.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Oh, absolutely. That's how I've always felt. I feel like as a director, it's not your job to have all the right answers. It's your job to be able to recognize them wherever they come from.
Exactly. And I really encourage everybody to have a voice on my set, and I want to hear ideas. You know, at the end of the day, there is one vision, and you're responsible for that vision. But I definitely want it to be a collaboration with my entire team. And I just love equipping them to do the best that they can do. A lot of fun.
Awesome. I'm excited to get on set with you and be a part of that.
Yeah, you haven't been on set with us yet. That's right.
I have not.
Okay.
I've heard plenty of stories, and I've felt jealous all the time that I wasn't there. But
we do have a good time. We definitely become family. We usually wrap on time, which I understand is not the case for a lot of people, but
rare.
Yeah. You know, that's one of my pet peeves. And I think it's because I'm a producer as well. It's a pet peeve of mine when a director shows up and then prepares for the day while people stand around for 2 hours. Like, I just feel like that's a loss, and it's not respectful of your crew and cast. Yeah, so
absolutely.
I know there's going to be some things that, you know, weather's going to come in or things like that can throw you. None of us can control those things, but in general, I'm going to try and be as prepared as possible.
Well, this question might take you a minute to think of, but has there ever been an obstacle on set, something that you guys ran into that required, you know, some kind of special engineering or thinking, or and how did you get out of it?
Well, I can tell you one for Camp Cool Kids that was crazy. So we showed up to film. Weather came in. It wasn't breaking. The locations manager said, "Oh, I have another place. We can go there right now and shoot it there." And it was 30 minutes drive going into a place we knew nothing about. She showed us very little on the front end. I get there. It is beer bottles everywhere, broken glass everywhere, smelled like whatever had been taking place in there. And it was a kid film. So I just shut us down for the day, right? I didn't even let the kid actors enter the building. I said, I'm so sorry. This will not work. I will figure it out. It's most likely going to take a rewrite on my part to figure it out, but you'll have new scripts by 7 p.m. tonight. And I sent everybody home from that point. And that was about 2:30 in the afternoon. And so then I had to go myself and find a new location and then rewrite the pages so that it would work for that location so that we could shoot it the next day, which we did. And it worked great. It was a great scene. Worked really well. So, but yeah, it's just, you've got to stay ahead of the train and you've got to be a make it happen person. And you never just come with a problem. You just be the solution. So yeah.
That's got to be, though, a tough decision to decide to shut down. I mean, you know, I can't imagine what goes on when you're thinking, I know what the best thing to do is, but what are they going to say if I say it's time to shut down? You know, but it was the right decision. And, you know.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine. It is beyond me what they were thinking, but it was, definitely the only solution I had, because I'm not letting kids into a facility that has broken glass and beer bottles everywhere. And it's just a nightmare. So yeah, but we rolled with it. We did fine. It all worked out. Found a froyo place that worked for us really well and talked them into like hardly any money, just letting us film there before they opened. So it all worked out. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
roll with it.
Camp Cool Kids was a recent film of yours. What was Because of Gracia?
Because of Gracia, beautiful one. There was a director from Canada that he really wanted to film in the U.S. when all of our crews are going to Canada. He wanted to come here. And so originally he was talking to me about let's film in Nashville. And I said, we can. However, you'll get more money back from Louisiana than you will from Tennessee. And so we ended up filming it in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it was a great experience. I produced on that one. So my job was just setting him up for success, which we did in a phenomenal way. And that was actually a non-union project. So, So as far as talent, so, that you never know if you're going to be able to get what you need to find, but he did in every part. So it worked out really well for him. And, I think he wants to come back to the U.S. whenever he can. So he loved filming here.
Well,
and then if I do have a project that has to film in Canada and has to have a Canadian director, I throw his name in the hat always.
Well, I'm sure a big reason why he enjoyed it was because of you producing, I would imagine. So. Well,
I hope we took care of all his needs. We tried really hard. We definitely did. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about your writing. So, so how do you approach that as a process for you?
Yeah, everybody has their own process, right? So if it's a project that I'm creating myself, it really just kind of lives in my head for a while. Like it's marinating almost, it just has to stay there and stay there and stay there. And then all of a sudden it's just a regurgitation on the page. So when I start to write and it's one of my scripts, I've done it in 10 days. I've done it in 5 days. I've done it, it's usually just pours out of me because it lives in my virtual head for that long, so that it's kind of all, I've worked out all the, everything I need to. There's no more cracks in my foundation, and it's just about getting it on the page. When it's like a true story that I'm been hired to write for someone, I will read the material that they send me, but it's really more about the interviews. Because I find that the way people talk about things versus the way they write about things, I want the intimate. I want the unedited version, So I find that I do a lot better with the conversations, and they'll get aggravated with me. They'll be like, no, this is in chapter 5 of my memoir. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I just need to hear it in your own voice. So just, just bear with me and let's do this. And sure enough, it does. It really helps me get inside their lives and have the true vision of what it is, and understand the relationship so much better. Yeah. And it takes me only about a 3-month process to do those usually, sometimes 4.
That's fast.
I allow myself 6 in the contracts, but yeah.
Always allow yourself room, because you don't get the final payment if you don't deliver on time. So,
right. You never know. So yeah, exactly. And some come easier than others, and I think it's really, more about how compelling the story is and how vulnerable they are talking about it, so yeah, but a lot of fun.
Very cool.
And I really like we had one project where I needed to create the screenplay off of the novel, but the novelist really wanted to learn how to write a screenplay. So, we collaborated on it, and I allowed her to make a draft, and then I would edit the draft, and then she would understand what she had done. And, it's so hard for a novelist because they want to tell you about everything. They want to tell you that the person's evil. They want to tell you about, everything. And it's just a whole different journey for them to get their head, like how it's going to be shot. And I really encourage them to come on set, because then they can visually see, what the process is like.
Yeah, it's such a different format and writing style. I've actually tried to write novels, having written a lot of scripts, and I still can't crack the code for
I have no desire. You're better than me. That's one thing I don't think I will ever have the desire to or want to do. But like in my head, I have always seen things visually. So I don't know how to explain that to you, but when we're talking, I'm visually thinking about something else. When I'm walking with somebody and having a conversation, I can visually be seeing something about it. So that's kind of always where my head's been. So this is the right format for me.
Well, yeah, and if you're writing something that is for you to direct, you don't need to have a whole bunch of description, because you already know what you see.
I know. It's so funny, because sometimes I'll send people a script and they're like, Lisa, like, you've left out like all kinds of information. I'm like, yeah, because it's all in my head. It doesn't need to be on the page, but I'll put it on the page if you need me to, Yeah. It's all just living up here. Trust me, people.
So one other question I have for you. Do you have any advice for young filmmakers, people trying to get into the business, or just not the business, but just make films? Any advice for them?
Well, this would be for anybody, no matter what age. I don't think you have to be young. You can be in your 60s and want to make a film and never done it, and now you feel like now's the time. And it's just you've got to learn that you can't take no for an answer, and you're going to have to learn that you're going to have to be involved in every part of the process. So just skip where you think your lane is and be ready to just take on whatever role is handed to you. You're the reason it's got to, you're the make it happen person, in other words. So either you make it happen or you don't, but the buck stops there.
Well, nobody else is going to drag it uphill for you.
Well, you're really not, you really have to do it yourself, but it can be done. Yeah. And I've seen films made for nothing, and I've seen films made for millions. So, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But I would say don't be too, maybe don't go for the big $10 million movie for your first movie. Learn what you're doing first,
Sure.
Because it's make those mistakes on no budget instead of making a mistake on the budget that's taking $100,000 a day to shoot, so, and grow, but every time just try and learn and grow a little bit more. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the call sheet. Hopefully this is a lot of great information for people. And, that's what we're trying to do. We just want people to have a resource that they can hear the people that are doing it and how did they get there?
Yes. Well, and AJ, I know you could have said everything I said plus. So you're so funny. Like, you've got a lot to teach people and a lot to do in this industry. It's going to be exciting to watch your career for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll definitely be trying to get you to produce things for me because I know you're going to be a good one.
Have your back, man.
That's right. That's another episode of the Call Sheet in the Books. I'm your host, AJ Wedding. You can follow me on Instagram at ThatDirectorAJ or join our Facebook page, The Call Sheet, for updates on the show. See you next time.